here, he was talking about how you put an emphasis on finishing throughout the conditioning program. Why was that so important to you, and how did you see that kind of borne out in the conditioning?
Yeah, so we there's always points of emphasis with different things. Obviously, there's no secret that we didn't have much success in the fourth quarter last year. So you come up with unique ways to get creative and emphasize those things to obviously emphasize a point, but at the same time, it can help with training monotony, especially if you've been here and it's now our 5th off season. So yeah, everything was derived around fourth quarter this off season, this first 5 weeks. So whether that was our We Will program, which is kind of our fourth quarter program that we have, we had the last 2 minutes of the Kansas State game just rolling every single week on repeat. Emphasizing a fourth quarter kind of a 2-minute drill that we would do once a week as well, where we would take one of the 2-minute situations we had throughout the year. We'd put that amount of time on the clock. We'd give the team that time to accomplish a task. And there was no do-overs. There was no, we got 10 up downs if we don't do it. It was either we're going to win or we're going to lose. We're going to accomplish it or we're not, because there's no do-overs. We learned that last season. So definitely put a huge point of emphasis on that and how we finish drills, how we finish days. Definitely for sure put emphasis on that this offseason.
What are some examples of some of those tasks you had the guys do?
Might be some things you guys have seen before, but it's what we call our perfect discipline. So we get them, one task is at first was just getting lined up. We got 30 new guys, and so it's we put something on a screen and it's you have this amount of time to get lined up and be in the correct position. Mm-hmm. But then it's things like the last one we did is I'll call someone into the middle of the circle that we'll go, these lines that we'll get into, and I'll give them the task and them only. They have to communicate that to the rest of the team. So one could be perfect jumping jacks, where these two sides of the lines have to do a jumping jack on the even numbers, and these two sides of the lines have to do it on the odd numbers. And then these guys only count the odds and these guys only count the evens. But I only tell one guy that. And then he's got to get into the circle and he's got to tell the entire team that. And we might have crowd noise playing and we might have the lights going on and off, and they've got to get those distractions and they've got to be able to communicate to their teammates, and they've got to execute. In the past, we've kind of done it where they have, if they get it wrong, it's a couple up downs, we hit it again. This year it was one of those 2-minute situations. So 1:37 on the clock. We've got to go down to score, we've got to go down and get a stop. And once I hit the whistle, that clock runs. So if you guys mess it up, I'll hit the whistle, that's an incompletion, right? But now we gotta go play the next play. And so you'd see that clock go 8, 7, 6. And we had a couple of them where it'd be 2 seconds on the clock and the whole team would complete the mission and we'd win the game. But we mimicked that a lot this offseason, these 5 weeks.
You met with so many incoming guys for the spring. You guys haven't had this type of numbers. How's that affect you? Does it change with what you do with strength and conditioning?
Yeah, a lot. There's a lot of different things. I think first is the similarities, though, right? Is the one thing I think that you'll notice about us and about how we believe holistically, and this is obviously from Coach Leipold down, but we ain't changing the way we do things because of this day and age of college football. And what I mean by that is whether you got 6 months with us in a program or you got 6 years with us, we're going to pour into you the same way we always have, and we're going to be a developmental program. We are going to develop you. It's not about just getting you to the fall and let's just see what you can do for us for 12 weeks and then we'll bring in the next class. We ain't operating like that. And so for us, the way we still install culture, the way we install discipline and foundation and all those things to our program, those pillars, they ain't changing. And we're going to tell recruits that when they're going to come in and talk to us about what this program is going to be, but we're going to demand that. So that hasn't changed, right? The actual training part has changed drastically because you have so many guys coming from so many different places, and our job is to kind of meet them where they're at. So we got to figure out, this is a 6-year guy. Well, he's going to have some baggage. He's going to have a shoulder, an ankle, a knee. But at the same time, I think the message you send them is, if these guys are in the portal, they're looking for something better, whether it be fit, whether it be opportunity, but they're looking for something better. So go make it better. When you get here, we're all on the same page. We want this to be the best version of you've had yet. That's why you're here. That's why you're not where you were before. And so for us, we're on the same page there. So whether that be physically, mentally, spiritually, you name it, we're going to try to make them better. We're going to develop them. We're going to pour into them. But from a standpoint of strength and conditioning, X's and O's, it's just we have a lot more variability in our program, where before it's kind of like you might have some of the newer guys in the program doing this program. You have some of the older guys in the program kind of doing this program. Now it's like you got old guys that need some new guy things, but they're beat up, so you got to do it kind of like this. And you got some older guys that need the Daniel Highshaws of the world who need very specific training. You still have all the freshmen and the young guys in the program that need foundational strength. So there's a lot of moving pieces now. I've honestly never enjoyed a 5-week period more than what I just enjoyed that, because I've never been more stimulated from a standpoint of trying to drive culture, of having to think about how can we get this all to form where these guys need this, but these guys need this. Wildly stimulating from a standpoint of just how you have to think in your thought process. I think from a standpoint of culture and really building again, getting back to what building feels like, that's what you love. Like that feeling of building it's so special, and we feel back to that. And then honestly, the other thing that's palpable is there is a competitive edge again in this program that on a daily basis, these guys know there are no solidified spots on this roster, and they've got to go compete. The one challenge about having such a senior type class as we had last year is, to a degree, it's hard to recreate that. It's hard to really when some of those guys know that they're a 2-time All-American and they got a freshman who's 175 pounds behind them. You can try to stimulate competition, but to a degree, you know what you know, right? This year there is a whole nother level of competition, and I'll go look at our catapult stuff here, but I'm just telling you, 93-minute practice, we just got done the amount of work that we normally get done in about an hour and 20-minute practice, just from the standpoint of how guys are finishing the warm-up. It's called player load, right? But on average, we accrued 90 more units of player load in our warm-up today. Watch us warm up. It looks different right now because guys are getting evaluated in everything they do, and nobody knows where they stand from that standpoint. So it feels revitalizing, right? It feels reinvigorating right now, and it's really fun to be part of. And it's gonna be a tough scenario to operate in on a daily basis for these guys, because it's a competitive environment. But ultimately, we all know what that does for human.
Hey, Kobe Bryant came in at 180 at the combine. What, you guys help him get there? How did that?
Yeah, Kobe's. I was talking to him regularly throughout the process here of what he's doing, and a lot of it was just continue building. Now in the season, he was the heaviest this season that he's ever been. Even he had in general, his last year with us was his best year with us, right, as far as development. But even in the season, he was hitting his highest weights he'd ever hit, with his 172, 173. So for that, he built good habits, but then he had to go do it on his own. And so to me, kudos to him, right? Like we weren't holding his hand in this process. He was gone, and he was kind of the chicken left the coop, and he did the work. So I'm not going to take credit for that. He did that on his own.
Last year when Bryce Foster came in late in the summer, you said you were excited to go through an offseason with him and with his body and all that. What was it like having him here through the winter?
Everything I thought it would be, from a standpoint of leadership, that he's really taking steps in that direction. Physically, like I said, last year he is a specimen now. Strength-wise, it's really fun to do some of these unique things. And I mentioned, like, Daniel Highshaw is one of those guys that needs very tailored training. I mean, Bryce is one of those guys that you tailor things to very specifically because of his man, like what his body is and what he can do. It's special. He's very special.
Are there any newcomers who impressed physically like he did when he arrived on campus last year?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you got to remember the portal ain't really a good place for a lot of these guys from a standpoint of when they come in here. So, and then the tempo in which we train and how we train. Honestly, I don't think I'd be very good at my job if they came in and could handle what we do. So to me, it's a little bit from a standpoint of that when they come in, they struggle for 2 to 3 weeks, which and the guys that are in the program can manage it. Well, it tells us we're probably doing something right. If a guy can come off the couch for 3 months, which a lot of these guys did, and just fit into your program, I'd be a little concerned, and you guys would probably be writing some different things about me, right? So they definitely had to get back in shape, and you can't really evaluate a guy until he can survive through a training session. So once again, kind of meeting them where they're at. But I would say that there's Emmanuel is going to be very, very special, and I think that's as much of his process of how he goes about it. But physically, he's one that caught my eye, day one. Cam Pickett's a guy that comes in and just had a great foundation of training, and so he was a guy that got to hit the ground running very, very early, which obviously, receiver being a high need, those two guys being in that position early on was very, very good. But I'm happy with all of them. They've all progressed significantly, but they're all in different places based off of where they came here. So it'll be interesting to hear what those guys tell you when you talk to them. But they're in a much better position. But more than anything, I'm excited to have them here in the program and see I think there's a genuine appreciation from those guys about how we do things, and that to me is reassuring. That what we do here is still valuable to young men, right? That at the end of the day, you can throw as much money into this thing as you want, but when you come into a situation and you're truly cared about, and people pour into you as more than just an athlete, but as a man, that still means something to people. And to me, I can feel that's tangible. It's something I can feel when I talk to these guys about how do you feel about this compared to maybe where you were at before, and so a lot of those things are reassuring too for what we're doing.
A lot of times you see the biggest jump for a player from a strength and conditioning standpoint being from year 1 to year 2 in the program. Are there any second year guys that have popped and have really sort of made that next step?
I think you're in the process of seeing it. So we only had a 5-week off season,
Yeah.
which is short. So your mindset from when we're programming for you, it's more of a preparation mindset than it is a performance mindset. So last year when we talked about, we had 8 weeks with the guys.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some opportunities to really get guys big, fast, and strong. When you have 5, it really changes your mindset to we have to get them ready for spring ball. And how important is spring ball in this day and age of college football? Everyone's got a brand new roster. So to me, the teams that take the most advantage of spring ball and progress the most there, those are going to be the most successful football teams. So for us, it really wasn't a 5-week program of we've got to develop these guys and get them big, fast, and strong. It was more of a we've got to get them prepared to do spring ball so that they can meet the demands of how we practice, and we can maximize spring ball as much as humanly possible. For us, post spring ball now we'll have a much larger block, so we'll get a full 4-week block of training where you're not prepping them for anything, you're just prepping them for summer, so you can really go at it. So post spring ball, our program will change significantly to be more performance based. We're going to drive speed, drive power output, drive strength, and then I'll have some more numbers like that. But everything I would give you would be more from a standpoint of probably process driven things, right? Like the way Cole Ballard is going about things right now is so impressive, and the steps he's taken. Dean Miller, I don't know if you guys got to look at him today. Like his body is continuing to change, but it's because his mindset and how he goes about it is continuing to change. So there's so many guys like that. But as far as when I give you guys a bunch of great like that's going to happen post spring ball, just because of the way the calendar is. And honestly, I kind of like it this way. It's been fun challenge.
Daniel Highshaw is the guy that you've mentioned before,
Yeah.
being a great strength,
Yeah.
speed, weight room athlete. What makes him special in that regard?
Well, what I'm most pleased right now with Daniel is just how he's going about it. So I'll keep on hitting it because, as we know, the process will lead to the outcome. So the way he's doing things right now is going to give him everything that he needs to achieve. But Daniel is just such a unique athlete in general from a standpoint of his muscular and an anatomical makeup. You just have to be intel. But he's under 219. He's between 215, 290. So he's lean. He's moving better than I've ever seen him move before. But most importantly, he's one of the first ones in the building. He's one of the last ones to leave. He's cleaning the racks after the training sessions. He's getting guys to take their supplements. He's calling guys to do their recovery and their regen. And those things just haven't necessarily been priorities in the past. And so to see him in the headspace he's in right now, that's by far what I'm most pleased with him.
Do you have a plan for Jalen this spring?
Yeah, that plan is unfolding. There's things that just like last year, you just have to kind of gradually get in, but it'll be similar to what it was last year. We'll work him in, and there's multiple things that, right, you're getting his lower body back where it needs to be, but you also have to gradually work back into the amount of throws, right? So there's a throw tracker on him, and just like you program progressive overload with weightlifting, you have to program the same thing with throwing, so that he doesn't go from throwing 0 balls to 450 balls in a week, and then guess what? He's going to be sore and torn down, and then you're going to have to take 2 weeks back off. So it's a progression, but it's just we're kind of at the point now where we can really start the progression. So he's excited. He is absolutely like banging on the door. And you could tell when he showed up today, he had a different mindset of like, I want to get this thing rolling. So in a good way, he's very impatient right now. He's itching to get going, and I know why. So we're excited to get him back too.
This defensive tackle group, is that a group you enjoy coaching? They've all been in the program for a while now, and it seems like they continue to make gains.
It's an incredible group, and I think the one that continues to stick out is Blake Harold. Yep. That guy is I think he's going to be one that we're talking a lot about in this program, and it's great to have Tommy and DJ up front there, but Blake doesn't accept that answer, and they all push each other, but Blake doesn't want to be the next guy in line. Blake wants to be the guy. And how good is that for DJ and for Tommy? because that's apparent every single day and every single thing that they do. But it's a great room in general. You got Gage Keys coming back into it, who's been another sounding board for us of a guy that went and saw it, another way and wanted to come back, and you can feel that in him every day when he walks into the facility, of just how refreshing it is, of once again kind of how we do things. But that's a tremendous group. That entire group is great. And you guys said Keenan Caldwell coming back was huge for us, and that gives you so much stability in the position as well. So yeah, it's a fun one to train.
You talked about the timing of things. You guys did it the other way last year, 8 weeks and before,
Yep.
shorter after. You guys have done it this way previously. Which one do you like more?
I think it depends on what kind of team you have, and that's the thing about every year. The program's slightly different based off what does the team need and what's the identity of the team. If I had to pick one, I think this flows better into camp, because it's a thing where, once again, you almost use post spring ball training as an extension of summer training. And so for me, that allows us to kind of lay the foundation where summer's going to be, and just take it into where when you have only 2 weeks, you're only focused on dissipating fatigue from spring ball, both mental and physical. Because if you get done with spring ball and the guys know they have 2 weeks left, they're thinking about the same thing that I'm thinking about, right? Which is I'm excited to see my family. For me, get over to Spain, right? Like I'm already thinking about that. They're thinking about the same thing. So at that point, it's a mental and a physical deload. When you come off of spring ball and you have 4 weeks, everybody's ready to get their elbows dirty and go to work a little bit. So to me, just the mindset of that, of what you get out of it when you have that extended period of time, it's a chunk of where everyone looks and goes, we can get bigger, faster, and stronger. When you got 2, it's just you're fighting that battle of, coach, what are we going to do with 2 weeks? Like they're not dumb, right? And we educate our guys too. So there's nothing when we program and tell them, they know what kind of weeks we're in. When it's more of a lower week, when we're going, like they know. They know. Like I like to educate the guys on what we're doing and why we're doing it. So they also know that 2 weeks is limiting to a degree. So I would say this way, I do like this. I'm a guy, I love football. So I don't want to be away from it for too long. So like getting back out here today fired me up. I can only do weightlifting for so long before I tell the guys all the time, hey, you guys didn't come here to play weightlifting, you're here to play football. So let's go do it, right?
From 2022 on, I think you guys are undefeated coming out of bye weeks and have looked really refreshed and conditioned and everything. This year you guys have 3 different bye weeks. Well, what about that formula have you guys maybe cracked, and do you feel comfortable heading into a situation like that?
There's a lot that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
I know I'll just speak personally from a strength conditioning aspect. A lot of places look at us bye week as, we don't have practice this week very much, so we're gonna use this week in the weight room to really make sure we're really big, strong, and fast. So we're gonna really run them in the weight room. We're gonna lift really heavy this week. For me, it's like when it's a low week, it's a low week. So we don't have a game, so that means recover. So we do the opposite. It's like we shut them down. We don't have we have a conditioning run in the week, but it's all mentally stimulating things where I'm just giving them tasks of things to do, but it's not very challenging. It's more blood flow facilitation in general. The lifts are very light. And then the practices are kind of the same way. So we don't do once again, we don't have a game, so we're going to really get. So I think that the model that we follow, I think, has really been really good for us. But as you know, there's the second you think you've cracked the code is the second that someone's going to show you that you haven't. So we're always looking to improve it, but it's worked for us for sure.
All right. Thanks, guys.